I just want to confirm for everyone, you did not wake up in a fuzz. It's just the camera's a little blurry, so. Wondering why we're blurry, it's just the camera, it's not you. So welcome to our workforce board meeting. Thank you for being here. We're calling it to order at 8:04. Good job, board. Thank you. First thing on the agenda is we have a public comment. Tara from Equus.
Good morning. Good morning. Really quick, Carter, I promise.
Oh, no problem.
All right, so we do have impact stories in front of you, so hopefully you'll get to see big picture of what we've been doing in the community. And speaking to our community involvement and engagement, super thanks to the board, Brenda, Maria for sharing all of our events on social media. We have made an impact sharing those flyers, so we super appreciate that. Couple of things that are also happening in a couple of centers. Grand Prairie recently had a hiring event specific for Harbor Freight that opens on July 1st. We've had 89 people to attend and 29 on the spot hires, which was super fantastic.
Yeah.
We have had some challenges. We're getting hires from the employers. Redbird also had an event last week. The Redbird community share some more of the event. So if we share the event on social media, the community, the job seekers and program participants share, and we had over 100 shares, which yielded 924 job seekers. We're expecting hire lists for that event today. And also, last but not least, we have a dislocated worker hiring event, community resource event, and training event on Friday at the Renaissance. We will have workshop, financial literacy, resume writing, and reinventing yourself, and we'll do real-time resume critique. We will have training providers there with training opportunities, and we'll have staff there enrolling people on the spot. And of course, we'll have employees, so we're looking forward to it. If you have some time, please stop by the Renaissance. We'll be there from 2 until 6 p.m. Thanks again.
Thank you for the update. Congratulations. I just have a short 3 comments. One, this board is really focused on 3 things this year. There's a lot more, but really 3 key points that I always want to remind us of. First of all, is that the strategic plan. So we have been working on that. We've hired a consultant. They've been part of this board. They've interviewed community partners. They're putting it together. We hope to have something back in front of the board next board meeting in June. And that'll be at Karen's place, the Army Hotel. So see Carolyn. So we'll be shifting in June, get more on the strategic plan. So that's one key focus for us always. Second thing is the new CEO. We have hired a search firm to do that, our work on that. So be looking for more information on that. Job has been posted on our website. So if anyone asks you in the community about it, go to our website and they can apply. So the new CEO is probably one of the biggest things this board will be responsible for. And the third and final thing that we always talk about in this group is our performance. And it's critical that Dallas be the best. And we can always do better. And so we've been focused on our performance. Equus is here today to talk to us about that. So really, those are the 3 things I always want to point out for this board, that we're laser focused in those 3 areas. With that, I'll turn it over to Ashley, because she has some other things to talk about.
Thank you. Well, good morning, and thank you for joining us for what promises to be another impactful board meeting. We have a robust agenda this morning, and I'd like to start by just highlighting some of the progress that our team has made and the impact that we've made since our last meeting. On the front page of your board packet, you'll see photos from several events our team has led or participated in over the past month. And just to spotlight a couple, on May 1st, right at the top there, you'll see we had the opportunity to co-host a dynamic session at the North Texas Regional Advancement Convening alongside Workforce Solutions Tarrant County and Workforce Solutions North Central Texas. Together, we explored the power of collaboration to strengthen communities and create lasting regional impact. You'll also notice a familiar face, our very own board director, Carolyn Dent, pictured at the Culinary Youth Apprenticeship Collaboration event. We were honored to attend this gathering hosted by the Omni in partnership with Dallas College, the Hotel Association of North Texas, and the Culture Solutions team, uniting hospitality leaders from across the region. Keep an eye out for our newsletter coming out later today. It includes more details about all of these events and more. You should be receiving this newsletter in your email inbox already, but if you would also like to receive it via text and you haven't already signed up to do so, just let me know after the meeting and we'll be happy to get that set up for you. Now, before we dive in, I want to draw your attention to these banners. We had one at the entrance, there's one back by the refreshments, and these will be displayed in all 8 of our workforce centers in both English and Spanish. The QR code included on the banner links to a customer feedback survey that will help us better understand and improve the experience we provide. This initiative grew out of the great work of our Achievement Alliance Committee, so thank you all for your input and thank you, Rebecca, for leading that committee. We have plenty of exciting work ahead today, so I'm going to turn things back over to our chairman for the business of the day.
Okay, I think chairman doesn't necessarily fit, though. Our exciting things. If I had a wife where I'd write your name up on it. Better yet, give me your hand. This morning, I do want to, hopefully there's a Sharpie in the room, because, my associate here has a new knee. So I'm sure he'd like for you all to sign his new knee. The one time that in my life that I can handle the rugby player is when he gets a new knee. So I have the advantage today. But I do thank you, Harry, for being here. Harry has been in lockstep with me for a couple of years now. And I really appreciate his sage advice and his commitment to workforce. So thanks for being here. This is his first outing with his new knee. So be careful around him. All right, well, let's go on to the package. And if you would, we'll start on page 9, which, sorry. Let's declare conflicts of interest before we go any further. Rebecca, Rolinda, yes, Dan, yes, all right, Crystal, all right, got all those? So can I proceed?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So you see the minutes there. If there's any discussion on the minutes, not, we'll move on. Policy, which is starting on page 12. Ashley, could you take us through adopting state rule?
Yes, absolutely. So part A at the top, you'll see the chart, the usual chart you get every month with policies that came forth from TWC. You can always click those hyperlinks when we send the board packet out and see the entire policy if you like, but these are required to be approved by the board. Then we have contract amendments in the middle of the page, item B. This is for some child care funding. This is our Department of Family and Protective Services grant that we received from TWC. The grant actually has no dollar value when we receive it at the beginning of the year. And that's because TWC will always infuse this grant for the population of children that are in child and protective services. They will always receive that child care subsidy. So about this time every year, we go through and anticipate what funds we'll need to make it through the end of the grant life and ask TWC, here's how much we need. They gave us exactly what we asked for here, the $2.6 million that you see. This will go to child care group, but ultimately it will flow through as the subsidy for childcare payments for this population. And then at the bottom of the page, we have external grants and partnerships. These are primarily grants that we have supported for different partners. We may have written a letter of support for most of these. I would draw your attention to the second to last item, talks about $300,000. This is one that we actually applied for, and we're working with the mayor's office. This huge project you may have heard about with the Kay Bailey Hutchinson Center. So we are applying for this $300,000 to assist with training.
Any questions about any of the amendments or other grants that we've talked about? All right, if not, then I'd entertain a motion that we accept the consent agenda. So moved. Okay, Dan, thank you. Second by Ken. All right, any further discussion on the consent agenda? If not, then I'll call for a vote. All in favor, aye. Aye. Anyone opposed? All right, consent agenda. Oh, oh yeah, there's some abstentions. All right, we got those there. All right. And we'll move forward. Consent agenda passes. And next we'll be going to page 16. And Demetria. Oh, no, Richard, you go. Yeah. Richard first. Good morning.
So I'm gonna briefly go over the economic snapshot. I know we have a full agenda, so I'll just be touching on some of the items. Labor participation continues to be very strong, year over year, and with the highest still being in March of 2014. Unemployment rate is steady and it's slightly lower than it was over the year in March of 2024. Now, I did something a little different. I went ahead and added on the training that we've been sending our customers to, and since October 24th through current, as you can see, truck driving appears very popular, but there's some other trainings that in healthcare and IT that our customers are interested in. And the next thing is the job posting data from Help Wanted online. I just highlighted the top 10 of the current job postings as well as some of the monthly ones from the last 12 months. Now, typically I would go into performance, but this year, or excuse me, this board meeting, we don't have an updated NPR. I did have the opportunity to speak with Jennifer Cole, who is the new performance director with the Texas Workforce Commission. If you had heard of Adam Leonard, Adam moved on and Jennifer replaced him. So she was giving me some updates on when the next NPR will be coming out, and it will be coming out this Friday. And they anticipate that in addition to that, 2 weeks from publication, they should have an extract available that we can use for ourselves to dig into some of that data as well as share it with analysts. Something else she was saying, I asked her when her guesstimate on some of the workforce reports would be available. And they estimate that they should be ready in late summer. She didn't give me a specific month, but late summer was the guesstimate. And something else she said, and I'll just touch on this, in the next NPR, there were some new performance measures that the commission voted on in 2024. They hadn't had the opportunity to introduce those, but those will be part of the next NPR, and we'll go over those more in detail the next meeting. But just to say what they are, is an active job seeker, employment connection rate, maintaining employment connection rate, successful Texas Talent Assistance and Child Care Initial Job Seeker Success. But with us today, we have Jack Sawyer.
Can we hang on just a second, because there are any questions regarding the economic snapshot?
Apologize. Yeah, I'll take any questions on the update or any of the other items I discussed.
Ashley, it might be helpful, when we look at this WIOA training, to kind of walk us through the funding and how that gets sent to Equus. And then if I'm a client, how did I pick the training? Yeah. Just kind of walk that.
Well, let's start with TWC. The money flows down from TWC to us, and then we pay our subrecipient, which we have already contracted with Equus for this procurement cycle. So we pass through funding to Equus for the purpose of training, among other things. And then the job seeker comes into the center and they may want to take this truck driver training. It is their decision what training provider to use. Now, we have an eligible training provider list that is managed by the state. If the training provider that the job seeker wants to use is on the list, they can go there, and then Equus will pay that funding that has flowed through from TWC to the board to Equus. They will pay the training provider. So a lot of, there's a budget line in Equus's budget, and we'll talk about it more when Demetrius starts talking later today, specifically for training that's pass-through dollars.
Yeah, can you be from anywhere? Can you be from outside Dallas County and get this training?
Yes.
You would have to go to another workforce board, it would go through, right?
Well, if the training, let's say the school is in our neighboring board in Tarrant County and there's no issues getting there, we get or more central, Plainfield. The training, I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. The training provides.
Yeah, we're training people that end up living and working here, or we're training people from around and go back to work.
Yeah, then we primarily like to focus our investments with Dallas County.
And just back up a bit, so this WIOA is a federal program that goes to every state. We've been talking about how that has not been reauthorized. And Ashley, you had a conversation with other boards about that too. What was your take on that?
Well, TWC is expecting a cut in WIOA funding. But we don't know exactly how much the cut will be at this point. They have some forecasted guesses, but there are no finalized numbers. And at this point, we're planning. We have WIOA funding in our contracts to last through September. The new WIOA funds start in July, so we have time to continue planning through September.
Okay. All right, so I just want to kind of walk through how the training goes. There's been some questions about that, so. Any other questions for Richard? All right, proceed.
Excellent. And I'm also the local person that manages the eligible training provider system, Jacqueline and I. So any questions on how that works, I can also answer those. But Jack Sawyer and Brad Williams with Equus are with us this morning. And they're gonna go over some strategies on the Equus system. No, thank you.
Thank you. Good morning, everyone. Morning. Thank you very much for having us. So Ashley asked us to come and speak to you about things. I should say first, I'm Jack Sawyer and I'm the interim CEO of Equus. Ashley asked us this morning to come and speak to you about performance and specifically about what underperformance was demonstrated in the December Texas State Yard scene and understand. And to talk about why we had that underperformance and what we're going to do to fix it, which seems like a very important reasonable question. Our job for you all is to make sure that with the funding that we receive, that we maximise in every respect the impact that that funding has on the people that we serve. And that is a very important job, we understand that, and we do take that job seriously. And the results demonstrated in the December NPR, which we're talking about, tell us clearly that we're not doing that to the best of our ability at the moment, we need to improve. So I just want to reassure you that we take that very seriously. We know that's our accountability, and we are uncomfortable through the whole ECWIS organisation, from myself down to the local team, all the people we are actually supporting, that's the status that we currently have here. So we will rectify that. And what I want to do today is talk about two things. Firstly, the causes, we believe, of why we find ourselves in this situation. And then secondly, the things that we will fix in. So I'm going to just talk first briefly about the causes. And I'm going to ask Brad, my colleague, who's standing behind me, who many of you people know, to talk through some of the details of what we're going to do. And then we're going to keep that reasonably brief, with the line of the brief, and then hopefully we can start a conversation about that. And we'd be very pleased to engage with you and answer any questions that you have to help you understand more kind of what we're doing, with reassurance about how seriously we're taking this and the fact that we're going to straighten this out for you. So I'll just move on there. There's three things that I want to talk about in terms of underlying causes of why we find ourselves in this situation of an unacceptable level of performance against the NPR measures. The first thing is what I term as data excuses. So there has been some documented challenges around the Texas workforce system around reporting. Yes, however, what has happened, unfortunately, is that has got in the way and become part of an excuse around performance, and it's got between us and actually managing our program. Ultimately, there are data issues. That's a fact. But there is no way that should be impacting our performance, because that's down to us to manage and respond. We've allowed it to. We have to stop that. Two things I want to mention here. The first thing is we should develop our own tools, and we should be able to know what we're doing regardless of what the state system is doing. So we should have been proactive. We should not have allowed ourselves to be a victim to that. We should have been proactive and taken ownership of that situation. We've been able to do that. The second thing is reporting is helpful. It's not necessarily necessary though, because actually we should know what's happening in our programs, regardless of what report tells us about the system. We should know by being present with our teams, by present in our centres, present with our employers, present with our community partners, present with people we serve. We should be able to establish our performance in the absence of reporting through conversations. And indeed, in times past, before we had things like CRM reporting our performance, that's how we would do it. We would talk to people, we would understand the status of what we were doing, metrics, and then we would gather that information, create data out of conversations that we have with the programs, which is still not what we're doing. So data isn't an excuse, it's been there, but it's not an excuse. We've had to change that mindset. Secondly, accountability. We have had an accountability absence performance across the leadership team of the programme, and that's not a criticism of individuals, but that's not to say we don't have talented, committed, passionate people. But in terms of how we operated as a system, we have not taken accountability for performance. The reason that, and to answer that slightly more, we have both programme managers who manage the kind of programme streams across all the centres, and we have centre managers across the 8 AJCs across Dallas. So the programme managers are responsible for adult dislocated worker, TANF and SNAP together, youth, and then employer services. And they cut across all the centres, and then there's the centre manager in charge of the location. And what we have allowed to emerge is a lack of clear accountability for performance amongst that leadership team, which has meant that when we have faced a opportunity or a challenge to rectify something that's not working well, we have not, although there have been lots of conversations and effort about resolving those things, we have been less effective than we should be in terms of actually executing on delivery because of that lack of clarity and accountability. We have to rectify that to make sure that underlying, when we identify problems and challenges, we're able to actually fix them in a way that impacts the frontline teams and the people that we serve. The third thing is execution of training in 2023. So the current NPR measure relates to training undertaken in 2023. Between 2022 and 2023, we had an increase in the number of people in trainings. went up from around 550 in 2022 to 750 in 2023 approximately. And in managing that change and that increase, we did two things that weren't right. The first thing was we didn't we put too many people into training that wasn't credentialed. So people were in trainings but not credentialed training. And secondly, in the efforts to increase the numbers of people in training, didn't get right our engagement process with the participant in the first instance to make sure that the training was the right one for them, that met their long-term needs, that they would therefore be motivated to stick at and complete, and that was right for them in terms of their capacity to complete, in order that these would be trainings which would lead to positive outcomes in terms of credentials and then employment. So we had higher dropout rates than we've historically seen on those trainings. So those two factors meant that our credential rate essentially has dipped. That doesn't just affect the credential MPR measure, because those trainings affect credentials. They affect a measure of skill gain, and less directly they do affect employment. Because if you actually get people to credentialised training, that's great and a great evidence-based path into employment outcomes. So while that is more an issue-based thing than the two underlying data and accountability issues, actually it does affect quite a number of MPRs. Now, that doesn't mean that there aren't other things that we can do better on the programmes. There are many things that come out of those things. There are many specific process things and other things that we have as opportunities to improve. So I'm not suggesting that there aren't other things we can do. I guess what I'm trying to do here is based on the assessment we've done, articulate to you what we think the underlying issues are that affect our ability to solve problems as we see them. So that's, I think, the key things that we're going to fix, which will enable our leadership team to start to move through some of the other things that we need to do in terms of opportunities to improve. So hopefully that gives you a flavour. Very happy to take questions on that. Just going to ask Brad to talk through the steps we're going to take in relation to these three things to make sure that we improve them swiftly. Brad.
Morning, everybody. Brad Williams, Chief Customer Officer with Equus Workforce Solutions. This is again. Nice. So Jack did a good job distilling down kind of three key areas that we think are the underlying causes, root causes of what went wrong with performance. What I'm going to talk to you about is, let me get to the next slide. Here we go. So for all three of these, I'm going to give you two high bullet points and a brief explanation, and then entertain and show you where we're forecasting for performance and start some discussion. The first one about data excuses is going to be that we have that system that Jack talked about that we need for a real-time tracking in our own tools. We developed it. We launched it in March of 2025. We call it the Quality, Performance, and Innovation Dashboard. That dashboard it's a new piece of technology that is proprietary that we've developed. What it does is it automates reporting, and it reduces our manual extraction efforts of just relying solely on the state system and the reports in there. It tracks things for us. Data for us that gives us real-time insights to track progress, to make sure that our service strategies are working. And it really enhances part of that accountability that Jack talked about too. This dashboard gives us a level of detail that we can see down to the individual worker in every single one of the centers for every client that they touch, how that client is doing, and how that impacts the performance metrics that client is actually able to. It really does make us better. Inside that tool, one of the other things that we're developing is the second point, goes around designing and capturing leading indicators for today. And what I mean around that is, from our root cause analysis that we did in the past the past month, we have always naturally been focusing on the outcomes, the performance metrics, but we're not as disciplined and intentional to really look at what are those inputs and improvements. What are the actions that we're taking on a daily basis when you're serving a client to say, this is something that I should be tracking to be a lead indicator of if they're going to meet those performance metrics or not. So we're starting that process. It's in the process of being launched, I guess I would say. And some of those lead indicators would be things like naturally pulling together information of how many people are we serving on a daily, weekly basis? How many are expressing interest or having need for training through our assessment of them? What kind of trainings and programs and how many are we talking about? What's the conversion rate of interest in training to getting to training? It's the conversion rate of training to successful completion, and then the conversion rate of that into employment retention. You need to be capturing all of that. What our dashboard will do, and our analytics inside that, are able to take that information and information that we have demographically on the client to essentially create profiles for us to be able to say, these are the characteristics and behaviors of someone that we're serving that we know lead to success or don't. So then we know how to resource and we know how to apply the right interventions in a different way to different clients. Not just I'm a case manager that has a one size fits all type thing. I may have a case management level that have a higher barrier people with certain characteristics where I need more interventions and more time than someone who may be a lighter touch. So it's segmenting all of that out in order to move forward so that when someone engages with the system, we know what the path is going to look like to get them a successful outcome for each individual. I hope that makes sense. And I'm sure that we'll talk about it here shortly. For the accountability absence, just spending a couple of minutes on this, Jack spoke to, we're doing a realignment of reporting structures. So that people are reporting, we're accountable for their performance to their program manager. We are going to root all of that in our continuous improvement framework. That framework model is a system that is going to lay out for all staff across the system exactly how that works, and they know how they plug into it and the exact responsible and accountable parties for everything in relation to performance and what their role, how they fit into that, how it plays into the larger system focus. So that has been drafted. It is going to be, it's built upon things that we've already done, but it's enhanced and improved. And we will be rolling that out during the month of July as we finish some of this. Thirdly, the execution of the 2023 training program. A couple of quick facts on that is customer choice is always good. We know it's in the law. We kind of let customer choice be paramount over everything in those prior 2 years. But that means, Ashley, you spoke to this a second ago. They're on the eligible training provider list. The client comes in, we get reverse referrals from people. The client comes in and says, "I want to go here." We say, "Okay, you're accepted. You go there," without having better diligence to have an informed conversation with that client about what that training actually leads to. Just because they're approved doesn't necessarily mean it's the best path for that client based upon what we know about it. So we've implemented and have rolled out a training provider scorecard. In addition to assessments for someone's career pathway and training success that we're working with board staff on. We now have a scorecard that we can sit down and say, you want to go to healthcare? Do you want to go to this type of job? Here are all the training providers. Let's look at their successful completion rates, their employment rates, the wage rates people are getting when they come out of that training, and do those meet your needs? We have to provide information for informed customer choice. That's going to strengthen the outcomes that are coming out of people that we send to training. Then lastly, on this third point is what we call data validation. When we went back and looked at the December APR from the last board meeting, we had scrubbed every client and every single denominator, good and bad, for every single metric, and that's a body of work that continues to be ongoing. We're going to couple in that work the things that are in number one, utilizing the new dashboard and tool that we built to get our data analytics and all those leading indicators, rolling it all together. Data validation is no longer a backward-looking activity. It's a real-time activity for people that we're serving today, not only for people that are in metrics from previous times, but that we're serving today so that we can tell you with confidence what your performance may look like 2 years from now. Not, let's look at the people we served 2 years ago and try to tell you how that performance ended up for what you're seeing out here. So I hope that those are helpful. I'm going to quickly just go through. Some of this was in the material that was provided to the director prior to the meeting. I want to draw your eye to the top of this, which gives you the board contract year performance for the past 4 years. The next, the bottom line there with 31%, that was the December APR. 5 out of 16 metrics, which is unacceptable. Many of those backwards looking. Essentially 10 workforce and another measure that were not met that were in their -2. From all the work that we've done that I described on the previous slide, you can confidently tell you here in the top right that we're going to pick up 3 additional metrics and what those are. That would bring us to meeting 8 of the 16 workforce core measures, not youth, but just those workforce core metrics. That's if we stopped doing anything that we're doing right now. That's where we would end up. And the work doesn't stop here because we have the rest of this program here to go. We have a confidence level that there are 3 additional metrics that are on there that would bring that up to a 69% performance rate for the system. I want to turn your eye to the bottom right of the chart, where since the December APR in our last meeting with you all, that we've made significant progress in 9 of the 10 missed metrics, and that demonstrates it there. And the color coding ties to the top right. On the right of that, though, you're going to see for all those metrics how many people there are that we need to be in the numerator to meet those metrics. So we know exactly who those people are, where we've done all of our work and continue to do it to make sure that we're connecting with those individuals, those training institutions to make sure that we can capture anything additional so that we could go beyond 69%. That's where we are today. With the launch of our quality and performance and improvement or innovation dashboard, the bottom left of the slide, we already have projections because that's a real-time metric. People that went to training, they're going to impact the BCY 26 measure. We can tell you with certainty that we will be meeting performance at 91 and 92% for those respective programs that are listed for the next program year, not the rest of this thing. So with that, I know that we probably went over a lot of time. There may be questions that Jack and I obtain that you might have already.
Well, first of all, Jack, especially thank you for coming. You might have noticed from his accent, he comes from far away, across the pond. So thank you for being here and presenting to the board. I just really wanted to remind everybody that what we're talking about here are taxpayer funds. These are funds that come from the federal government from taxpayers. And they flow to our state, who allocates them to 28 workforce boards. And so when we hear this kind of results, it does turn your stomach. And we really appreciate you coming and presenting and taking it head on. But we're really dealing with, I just want to remind that we have a fiduciary responsibility as a board. But I do want to remind everyone that this particular contract is in procurement. So this is very serious. I think your approach is solid, and we appreciate that. But we can't overlook where we're at, and so I just want to be frank with that. I entertain any other questions for Jack. Take advantage while he's here in front of us.
Yeah, Jack, it seems to me that you addressed the how and the why of the dip. I came in here not even now knowing why you thought the dip happened. So the how and the why has been answered in a theoretical way. And I think that lays out this way. Failure to know how you performed before, suddenly you did. Failure to hold people accountable within Equus, and then failure to execute the training well enough in 23. I mean, and I understand that in a theoretical sense, and it makes sense. It kind of then gets to the point of the who, because if we go forward in relationship, we have to know that we're not just going to be funding the people that you're going to try to remediate, or were people held responsible? Who were those people? Is that transparent for us or not? And then what would be different? So who has been held accountable? Will be transparent? Will it work? And in my law firm, if we had something that didn't go right, we wouldn't present the client the same team, because it would be difficult for the client to respond to that. So that's where I am right now, is the who.
Yeah, I understand that. I think that that's absolutely the question we have. I would have the same question for ourselves. I think there's kind of two phases. One is, I think there are some things which we need to take responsibility for at an Equus level, where in the way we've set up to support the team and the contract, we have done that properly. And given that, we haven't, from a national perspective, given the right support to the local team and had the right level of oversight and understanding of what's happening. So I don't believe you can kind of pick out individuals, and it's a little bit more systemic issue in terms of how you support it, first off. Secondly, I think our view on that at the moment is we have a team who has a lot of knowledge, and I think what we're doing at the moment is we're bringing in additional skills and capabilities. We've brought in additional support for the contract from the Equus national team, and also from the international team that we have. I work for, my day job is for the APM group, which is the parent company of Equus. We've actually got a team of people at the moment from the UK who are very, very strong at root cause analysis, condition improvement that we brought in to work additionally with the team. And what we're trying to do is best of both worlds solution, I guess, which is bringing the expertise to support the team we have. We've got the knowledge and understanding to get the right result. I feel like at the moment that's the right approach, because we need a fast and effective turnaround. And I guess I don't want to do something where we actually kind of make a change, which actually slows us down, making an improvement. However, I think we've done the initial phase of performance recovery, which we're in now, we will make an assessment at that point of what the team needs to be going forward. And we will make changes to make sure that we've got the right team for the future. And that will include from the level right up to the top of people with the team that reports to me, the vice president level, right the way down through how to support the program. We'll make sure we've got the right structure, which I don't think you have at the moment. But I think there's a kind of two-phase plan. One, we've got to fix. I think we need the skills and knowledge base of the team that we have to do that. And then we take a review and we go, right, okay, we fixed the problem. What's the right show for the team for the future? That helps to answer your question.
And do you think that on an ongoing basis, there would be more people? So when you're understaffed, is that part of the problem too?
I don't think we were understaffed. I think we were underfocused in the sense that I think you needed more attention to a program of this scale and complexity. I think that when I review our approach to the service delivery that we have across the country for ECRIS, we have not had in the past enough of a tiered and specialised approach to different programs based on their complexity, their scale, and their needs. Dallas should be a program which gets the kind of platinum level of corporate focus and a kind of major contract type response from the CEO, me, and the senior team of the company. Whereas I think what we've had, and I'm making some generalisations here, Harry, since I've oversimplified, but I think we've had too much of a one-size-fits-all approach to managing the multitude of programs that we have across the country, which probably means that from an EPS perspective, we're over-servicing a series of boards that are operating programs where the dollars may be 2 million, 2.5 million. And we've underserviced you, where you've got a program which is designed which needs a bigger proportion of our effort from a national company.
Yes, that makes sense. Thank you.
I'm trying to rectify that now, and hopefully you can see that to my presence. And I think I've probably been here in Dallas with the team in other sites and Redbird probably more times than what the person before me was in 5 years in 1 year, right? So we are making that step now. That's real time, but I think that's the issue.
Sometimes the thing I struggle with is are we critiquing ourselves from 2 years ago or today? And so I think you made it clear that now the dashboard that we will be reviewing is real-time information. Is that what we will be looking at going forward?
Yes. So we will make a step and significantly start to look at things real time, so we can tell you this is what we're generating today to see the future performance. At the moment, we are talking about results which we took a long time ago. That is one of the challenges of operational management of the system. But I think what Brad was trying to say before, what Brad was saying before was actually that's an excuse that the system measures are not easy for operational leadership because they are all lag measures. But that just means we need to create a set of measures which lead to those and run the business and the program. So we haven't done that piece of work. So our leadership teams are struggling with the kind of question everyone's got that question is, if we're dealing with the measures that are from 2 years ago, does that mean we're not doing well now? Or does that mean we weren't doing well 2 years ago? That is manageable. We just need to put it in place of management. And I think what you've seen is some of the things that are missing MPR now have been fixed already and will improve from stuff that's already been done. But some of the things are still issues live today. And so we don't want to hide behind saying that was 2 years ago data, everything's fine now. That's not what we're saying. Some pieces will improve for sure, but there are definite things that we need to do today to make sure that the next year's performance is where you need to be.
Yeah, one other question, Harry, and I don't think you can answer this, but I had the same question as, are we staffed appropriately? And I think trying to understand that, again, with lagging metrics is difficult, but I also don't quite know how we can adequately assess that.
Right.
And so, other than the charge to you guys to ask that question based on where we were staffed. I mean, if that team is only dedicated to Dallas, presumably they were. I mean, I understand your point. I'm trying to understand how would be under focus if they only had one asset, unless they're over many. And so I guess the broader question would be, I think it's worth visiting on our side to understand if if we are understaffed. And what that would mean to ensure that we have and maybe it may not be understaffed, it may be, you know, wrong player, wrong position.
Yeah.
So I think we wanna understand that.
Yeah, or structure, using the example of real-time analytics and leading indicators and characteristics and behaviors of a client. We had this conversation with the team yesterday when we were out of the field. Kind of have, you're a case manager for a program, so you have a big stack of people on, we may be looking at the staffing for the proper dosage and interventions. You may have some case managers on a program that are focused on specific types of clients within that program. And in the same program, a different case, so constructing the model that way so that the interventions are impactful and not, you kind of have a mixed bag, starting there. And then looking at is the structure of the staff that this conversation with her too. I'm thinking about how do we capture some of that performance? Do we have enough people or the right people, the right amount of time focused on grabbing some of the data to make the impact in real time? That is maybe part of a case management job now, but needs to be part of a dedicated role. So we're going through that same type of analysis from not just 2 years ago, but current about the impact that it's having now.
So if I can add to that, sorry, Paul, I know we're probably running over time, but the points I was making earlier about making sure we have the right resources in Dallas, that was related to the kind of central core of Equus national resource that we have that works at the company level. That wasn't in relation to the specific team, Dallas, who are wholly focused on Dallas. My response to that is I don't think that we definitely aren't saying to you, and the message should be clear, that the issue is not the investment that you've made in this program, that we have enough resources to do for it. What we need to do is within the program, do what Brad's talking about. It's the same thing I talked about at a national level. Within the program, could we optimize the use of our resources and our people and our talent better and make sure that it's focused in the right way on the right things? Can we make sure we've got people who are paid at the right level with the right critical skills, thinking and capabilities that you add? So, you know, do we need to have 5 people at a higher pay level than 7 people at a lower pay level? So the right person to have conversations with employers, you know, those are the questions we need to answer. But I would say, based on what I see nationally, also what I see globally in terms of funding for employment programs and how we're resourced, we are resourced well enough to deliver this program for you. There is no excuses for that level of resources we have. And
Yeah, I would tag on to that. First of all, I appreciate again, Jack, your candid answers and standing before this board. It's not our role to determine what the staffing is. It's not our role to determine what the staff is at our board. That's not what a board does. But it is our job to evaluate where our staff stands and where vendors stand. I have a 6-year-old grandson that's playing baseball, and he complained that he was batting like number 7. And I told little Hudson, look, if you get better at batting, they'll move you up. If your average goes up, you get to bat. He's batting 4 now. What? What we expect from him, get grandson of her. Garbage coach. I'll just add, yesterday he received the Mr. Sporty Award at his school, so. So.
Make sure that's in the minutes so I can hear it.
So, what we're talking about is increasing the batting average. That's what we're looking at. There's some other questions, yes.
I had a question.
Yes, please.
About the summary chart. Has the number of performance measures changed? The performance measures that we're looking at?
That's a fantastic question. So, the report that was released second, top left of the screen, the bottom 2 lines, I think you're looking at the 3rd column where you're saying it's the number of performance. We had 21, right? You're looking at 61. So on the December release of the NPR, the state did not release metrics on many measures. That's the gap between what now is 22 metrics, and we have there listed 16. There's not information, so there's no report from the state system to tell you that's the gap.
Okay, and I guess that was the discrepancy I was looking at, because I did see the stars where it says 6 were not reported, but we have 21. And now we're at 16, but if 6 aren't reported, I was thinking it should be 22.
Yes.
I thought I was trying to make sense of the numbers.
You got it.
There wasn't 22 in previous years for the now, so
So then there's no longer 21, there is now 22. Okay.
Crystal, please.
Okay, and thank you all for being here, but the quality performance and innovation dashboard, is that a new item that y'all have just started implemented and created?
Yes, we have some of our architects in the room, and it's been rolled out starting in March, and we're using them on a daily basis with this team.
Okay, so do you have any data to show that that dashboard will actually match what the TWC report is?
Right now, outside of those leading indicators, if I was to go back one slide right here, there are two pieces to that data. First is the dashboard, and the second is we've got to do the next step, to put into that dashboard the leading indicators. So right now, we're pulling the same client information out of the state system, TWC is, but we can slice it, dice it, analyze it, pull it in. And do things with it that you can't get out of the reports from TWC right now. So we're looking at the same data sets at the current moment that TWC has that we have access to, but we will be looking at additional data sets based upon how we look at clients that are not even in a TWC.
Okay, so it should match up is what you're saying.
Yes, that's what.
That's the, because sometimes.
We're not duplicative, but like, we're not going to the system and saying, let's enter a client, just, no, we're pulling from, they should match.
Okay.
I want to go.
So I was just gonna simply echo Carter's earlier remarks. I want to applaud you all for the reaction to our pulling of fire alarm. Jack, thank you for being here today. These in-flight actions are quite comprehensive. They're very impressive, but they have timelines associated with them that are gonna put a lot of pressure on it. Looks like May, right now, through September, will be the telling time for whether we're seeing improvements that's necessary. Is that an accurate assessment?
No, I think it is an accurate assessment, and we need to be very measured in the way that we introduce things that change into the program, because what we don't want to do is sort of throw too much at the team, which actually stabilises the focus on the basis of performance. I think what that report does is summarise a few things. Some of it is actually articulating things that are already in the plan, that are new, that weren't created because of the putting of the core. It just sets them out, just we think are important things that will add real value. Some of those things are new, so I think we have enough bandwidth and enough support to the program to deliver those things, but we will need to deploy additional resource from the ECRIS organisation to support the local team. So while the local team alone, we'll have our national team, and as I said, our international team, we're going to be spending time in Dallas with the team to help them through that program of work to make sure we get turnaround.
But by September, we should expect significant improvement in these results.
The only exception being the fact that the results will often lag measures. So what we'll need to demonstrate is what we're seeing on the leading indicators, which tell us in the future the measures will improve. And that's the least relevant to do. So it probably not be those measures that show that improvement. There'll be another set of things that we show you to say, look, this is what we're doing today. That doesn't show up in the NPR measure, which looks back at 18 months. So does that make sense? Yeah.
I was just gonna ask about the measures again, so will we be measuring all measures by the September date, or will we just be measuring these 16?
I think it's gonna be all measures, but that's dependent on where we'll have Richard here, what the state does, and there could be even more than 22 of what Richard talked about earlier, adding new ones, so. It'll be, we will be able to refer the whole set for whatever your charge is from TWC.
Okay, any other questions? One more?
Form voting, we took away a part.
That's coming up next.
Okay.
Fasten your seatbelt. Yeah.
On the client portfolio, you talked about moving forward, creating client portfolios based on how to better serve customers based on their needs. Has this approach been implemented elsewhere? And so what kind of results are you seeing there?
Yeah, we've got it in a couple of different forms in different contracts. We're trying to get the right formula for here, but I would say that how we segment out populations, specifically program populations. We've got some work that's happening in Charlotte. We've got some work happening in other contracts where it is a changed approach.
It's also actually We deliver employment programs across 11 different countries, for government. And probably the most common approach is that approach in other places. And indeed, in many places, the funding and how the funding works differs in different countries quite a lot, and that tends to drive how the service works in one line. But typically, it's probably most typical across other jurisdictions that when we deliver an employment program, we generally get paid differential rates based on the person served. So usually the model is there's an assessment at the beginning of a person's propensity or ability to find work. Multi-barrier. The payment that we receive is higher, and if someone is seen as having less barriers, the payment that someone receives is lower. So generally, how we operate employment programs globally is we have almost separate programs that have different intensities based on how multi-barrier the person is, and actually the government pays based on outcomes and based on pays differential rates for the different people we serve. That isn't quite how it works in the US in terms of the funding model, which means historically, I think sometimes in funding programs in the US, we haven't had as much differentiation potentially because of that as necessarily the funding model hadn't driven that. But I think one of the opportunities that I've seen from work closely here in the last 12 months, from doing some best practice from elsewhere, is we can actually do a bit more to differentiate and make sure it's the right service for the right person at the right time. And those who need a lot get a lot, and those that don't need as much get what they need, but they don't get a lot. And in that way, we optimise our resources and that. So that's what we're planning to do. And that we're planning to do that, to be fair, also that's the plan we've got across our programs more generally to move to it's more efficient and more impactful. Then in an ideal world, that we turn around and we come to the board and we have a discussion, we say, look, we've done this, we've actually used our resources, our performance has gone up, or if we need to, our costs can go down. And then that gives you options and choices in the future, given that workforce funding is uncertain at this point, as Ashley said. Actually, a more efficient use of resources is incredibly important, I think, for us all strategically. So that's what we're working on a kind of national basis. So that isn't something just Dallas, that's something we're trying to make sure we deploy first into Dallas to the challenges that we've got.
And thank you, that's helpful. As a follow-up for the conversations moving forward, is the entity focused on when you're looking at the clients served? Are you thinking about them in terms of who's currently walking in the doors or people in the area around the workforce centers?
Question, it's both. It's gotta be both for multiple reasons, right? Some of the programs that we're charged with renewal, we don't determine eligibility, they're given to us from the state. We have to serve those individuals to success. But we also know there's another part of the program, which is this is ultimately driven and based upon employers. And so you got employers that have needs, not all the time, that's what an employer looking for or an industry looking for exactly the candidate pool we have for those programs. We still have to meet that need too. So we can't rely on just traffic coming in. We've got to do outreach to hit multiple levels of different types of clients in order to meet business need and to meet the program need. That
Yes.
yeah, it's gotta be the right balance of both, depending on the demand for services from both the employer community and required program structure.
Rebecca, I'll just tag on to that. Both Brad and Jack met us at Redbird. And I don't put words in their mouth, but they're really blown away with all the wraparound services that are at Redbird, Dallas College, Ogle Alco, Parkland. That's just an incredible super center and an incredible opportunity for us as a workforce board. I really applaud the board for sticking their stake there and everything that's built around that. So that's a perfect opportunity if we can, move forward, how we interact with all those services together. I know Dr. Lonan and I have had discussions about that. You're here, we're here. You're doing training. We find jobs. Carolyn, you hire people. It's why we're here. So great question. And that is the model for what we should look like. Is put our stake in the community, put wraparound services and watch the success.
So I don't want to belabor it. Richard, I have one question for you. You mentioned, and I'm trying to connect it out here, you mentioned there was a report that you're waiting on that was like end of summer.
Yes.
That is from the state, is that wrong?
Yeah, correct. The Texas Workforce Commission, they're working on, we'll call them official reports, for the system. And they've had some challenges, with the data and the mechanism that's gonna show the reports, in this case Tableau versus Power BI. But, they think they're at a breakthrough and they should have those available, so.
All right, thank you.
All right, I'll get you guys off to the. All right, thank you.
Thank you.
And Demetria, I think you're up next.
But I'll pick up where they left. And it doesn't make our job any easier when we have challenges that we're facing. So last month, we had a great discussion about the additional dollars that we had in the Workforce Innovation Opportunity Act and awarding additional money to Equus, which is our sub-recipient contractor that does eligibility, recruitment, outreach, assessments.
Just let the board know, we're on page 17.
Yeah, we're going to 17, I'm sorry, I'm just jumping right in and picking up. So I'm trying to pick up from where we left last month with the funding. On page 17, what you see is a depiction of Equus contract and the funding sources that make up the 19 million plus contract that they currently have. So they're operating multiple programs for different requirements, different compliance issues, regulations, all of that. So that pie chart, I think Ken had asked for us to lay it out so we could see how the money is divided amongst their contracts. So that's just that on that page. The 1.5, we just kind of have the pie sticking out, the purple, that shows what we're talking about today. So if you go to page 18, what we've tried to do is lay out a plan that we could actually track real time. We know we're talking about performance that not well from the past, that we're rated on by Texas Workforce Commission as a board, across 28 workforce boards, that we're not looking good, not at all, and that we're not gonna paint the picture like it is good. But we know there's work being done in the centers every day. We're serving people every day, and we need to continue serving people that need our services. We have to do a better job with tracking as well, the real time with Equus to see what's happening, daily. And with this plan that we outlined, we hope that we can do that and come back and show what is happening based upon the targeted high demand occupation skills training, opportunities that we've outlined. So on page 18, that's what you see. We targeted some of the high demand occupations so we could track those that are, we see the job openings. We looked at the employers that hire these type of credentials. And so this is the route that we kind of collectively done, internally at board staff. We worked on this plan, and then we also asked Equus for a plan, with the same layout, but asked them to give us what they thought. And it was somewhat similar. It was aligned. They did look at the data. So I think that's what matters. We're looking at the data and we're all looking at the same thing. So just looking at this plan, what you see, the training opportunities is about $878,600 that we're allocating for training to job seekers. This is job seekers that we would say, these are the trainings we have available. Let us know what you would like to participate in based upon your eligibility and based upon the seniority. That's the end goal, is to get people to work. So In addition, we have work experience and support services.
Can we hold right there for just a second? So just to remind the board, some of us left since, last board meeting, that, we put before the board, that there was some additional funding available from what we owe. Remember that last, it was 1.5 million to Capri's point. And this board said, well, wait a minute, we're not uncomfortable giving that to Equus when they're not performing under the 19 million contract, right? Where we were. So, we challenged staff to come back to us with where can we put that $1.5 million instead of just writing a check to Equus. So Ashley, would you please tell the board how that money flows, the $1.5 million?
That flows just like I was talking about a little bit earlier, from the state to the local board. And then we do go through Equus. We are not allowed to go out and actually run the workforce centers as a local workforce board. So we've already contracted with Equus and they will pay those training providers chosen by the customer.
So here under medical assistant or electrician or plumbing or HVAC. So staff came back and said, these are the jobs that we need to train for. Equus, they don't have a plumber there at Equus that teaches training, correct?
Correct.
I'm not trying to be facetious here, but the money, if I wanna be a plumber and I've been to an Equus center, I pick the trainer, right?
Absolutely.
So this money, while it flows through Equus, is actually going to specific trainers, provide specific training. Okay, I just wanna make sure everybody's aware of that. Right, you can,
It's not money that goes to Edwards for operation.
Right.
It's a tax to the fund.
okay, everybody okay with that? Clear? All right, you can proceed.
Okay, same thing with work experience and supportive service. It follows the customer. So we want to afford the opportunity to individuals that may not have work experience. This is an earn and learn model. So, they will participate with doing work experience for 8 to 10 weeks at an employer site that has an opening position with the hopes of hiring that individual. We will pay for those wages and give them support service during that time. So that is on the table as well. So those are more for those that have not been in the workforce or need some skills training in a different area.
Who's an employer that would do that? Do you have an example?
Goodwill is one.
Okay,
Goodwill
so we have we have a potential candidate that goes to an Equus center and we contract, we tell Goodwill, we've got an employee for you and we're gonna pay their salary.
So Equus is working with the employers
Yeah,
to get those work sites, and we would make that agreement. Equus would do that agreement with that employer and pay those wages.
and it's basically, we're targeting 70 and for work experience.
We are,
And support service, transportation, and related supplies, they may not have ability to get there, we'll buy a bus pass or whatever.
absolutely.
Okay, all right. Any questions on that? And then outreach engagement?
I actually have a question.
Yeah, okay, please.
So when we were talking about, the jobs that were in demand and hospitality came up, we are in a very limited bucket here in this instance. I share the need for IT, plumbing, electricians. So if we were to need training and support in those areas and it doesn't fall under my industry, how does that work?
So if you have an individual that needs IT training, we have IT training providers on the eligible training provider list. So if they're eligible for WIOA, Workforce Intervention Opportunity Act, adult or dislocated worker, or even youth in some instance, we can still train them. They have to be qualified to be trained.
But if I'm looking for the person to be trained to fill the need,
It wouldn't come out of the hotel front desk line.
Is it-
It would come out of the cybersecurity area.
gotcha, okay. So I'd be stealing from someone else.
No, it's not. Now, these are just the occupations outlined. It doesn't mean that if it's across industries that they can't have that type of training. Okay. For credentials.
Okay. Any other questions for Demetria regarding the $1.5 million? All right, you have a recommendation?
The recommendation is on page 18. Staff recommends authorizing a contract amendment for the training workforce, work experience, support services activities to our existing workforce system operations contract for the to recruit and enroll eligible individuals seeking opportunities allowing for services under WR's program guides. The amendment includes funds not to exceed 1.3 million that are all passed through to the customer via training, primarily work experience and support services. The services will be tracked and reported separately from the existing services to capture real-time outcome. The remaining 200,000 is what we want to keep in-house, and we want to address the concerns that were brought up about recruiting, the door-to-door recruiting and getting information. We have been working with organizations to see who can provide those services. We got some information from Rebecca, and we have followed through with that. Now we're in procurement stages of getting those activities aligned, and we'll bring it back to you in June. Those would be things that we would demonstrate that it's not direct services to the customer, it's getting the word out about the services.
Demetria, do we have any clawback clauses, provisions?
Absolutely, we do. We
Thank you for
can,
that.
we can retract any funds from this plan to Equus. We can bring them back to the board and repurpose those funds for something totally different if we choose to. So we want to make sure that the plan is executed. If it's not executed the way that we envision this to happen, we'll come back to the board and we will ask to retract those dollars.
Okay. So we have a recommendation from, first of all, I want to commend Demetria and her team for coming up with this great list. I want to commend this board for saying we really want to be specific about funds that are allocated. We want to track it. We want to have the ability to claw back that they don't report. So I think we've covered all the areas that is under our purview and our fiduciary responsibility. So that being said, I would entertain a motion that we accept this recommendation.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Bill, and second?
I'll second.
Second, thank you. All right, any other discussion? All right, all in favor, aye? Anyone opposed? Motion passes. Thank you, Demetria.
Extension.
Extension. Okay, I think now we are going to go into a closed meeting, so I ask our audience to eat what's left of the Danish in the back, drink the rest of the coffee, and we will make it as quick as we can in our closed session. Okay, we're coming back into open session. I was worried Bill and Ashley were out of the room, and now Ashley's back. All right, in our closed session, we had some discussion items regarding a lease. And we will call for a vote on that. All right, so the vote is that can staff move forward with negotiations for the Garland office lease. So could I take a recommendation on that? That's a recommendation. Could I have a motion? So moved. So moved. In second.
Second.
Harry second. All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? No abstentions? Abstention, abstention, okay? All right, motion passes. We also had an update on the search for the CEO. No action on that, so, thank you, Bree for update on that and continue to work in that area. All right, now we're on page, 20. Of 19. Rebecca?
Good morning, I'm Becky Mack, the quality manager and video officer for the board. Just wanted to give a brief informational update regarding the fiscal and program monitoring. There are a lot of blue on the page, as you see. There are 3 new AEL reviews. One Richardson ISD, Irving ISD, and Wilkinson Center, and also a new program review for ECMAS. We have 2 ongoing reviews that have started a couple months ago for Dallas College. One is for the fiscal review of the youth program, and the other is for the program review for the AEL program. So we're getting all the AEL done at the same time. Are there any questions?
All right, thank you. You have the floor.
Thank you. Good morning, I'm Rachel Burhay. I'm the Workforce Education and Literacy Manager. I'm here to share an update with you all on our Adult Education and Literacy Grant. This is our first year contract. We had a competitive process for our adult education and literacy. And we were awarded $7.245 million. And so when people think about adult education, they always think about English as a second language or high school literacy, but we do so much more. We do workforce training that leads to an industry recognized credential. We work with employers to upskill their current employees. We have trained internationally trained professionals. These are individuals that have degrees from other countries. And we've also done digital literacy with senior citizens to help them get connected to things like banking and information. So if I can direct your attention to page 21 in the board packet, we have created a dashboard. And this dashboard is through Power BI. And I have to give credit to our college intern, our computer science major, who created this dashboard for us.
Nice.
Yeah, of course, we had to get a 21-year-old in here to do that. So, we decided to do the dashboard because we were sharing information on an Excel spreadsheet with our consortium leaders. We track about 30 data points. So can you imagine what that would look like on an Excel spreadsheet? And so we wanted to find a way to share this data more on an individual level per consortium partner. Now, Texas Workforce Commission only measures us on 7 contracted measures. This year, it's only 4 because this is a new grant year. They're not tracking the exit measures. But next year, we will have all of the 7 measures that they'll be looking at. So on our dashboard, and it's just a little preview, as you can see that we have exceeded our enrollment targets. And as this is until the end of March, I can say as of today, we've actually exceeded it for the program year that ends June 30th. There are 6 squares that you see there. That is where each of our consortium partners can go in and look at their individual data. For example, if you look at follow-up opportunities, that is where we have all of the individuals that did not meet a measurable skills gain. So they can look at that per program, and that'll give them the opportunity to follow up with those individuals or look at those programs. So we're really using data to drive decision-making and also helping them to create different types of strategies. If you look at toward the right, you'll see some squares. It says high school equivalency participants, IET, which is our integrated education and training. Intensive participants, those are individuals that are in our work-based classes, our internationally trained professionals, and our post-release programs. And then we have ESL participants. So TWC measures us on the IETs, in the intensives, and the overall targets, as well as our measurable skills gain. As you can see, we have HSE participants and ESL participants. Those are measures that we've given ourselves, not assigned by Texas Workforce Commission. So as you can see, the high school equivalency, we have a little work to do on that one. And we want to intentionally target them. They tend to fall in our exit measures at a higher rate than our English as a second language students. For example, people that are in our high school equivalency, if they get their Texas certificate of high school equivalency, they fall in our credential exit measure. And then if they become employed or enrolled in post-secondary, they fall in 2 additional measures. So we know that we can get more out of a high school equivalency student. And so we're working with community-based organizations to really target them as far as enrollment. If you look to the left, where you see percentage of participants earned at MSG, this is the only measure right now we're not meeting. But we have until June 30th to increase. So this is information again to the end of March. As of yesterday, we've increased to 27%. And so we are working with our contractors on how they can increase those measures. And we've seen a big gain in high school equivalency attainments. And what we realized by helping them look at this data, it was a process issue. It wasn't even an instructor issue. And so the state of Texas gives us vouchers for individuals over the age of 21 to take these tests for free. And so we still have young people that are in our programs that are not eligible but need to take the test. And so we've had conversations with EQUIS around UWIA, which has the funding on how to get them co-enrolled. So we are working with them on these strategies. And so I feel good about the direction that we're going in with the measurable skills gain. Also have set individual goals such as increasing our employer-based partnerships. As of today, we have 8. We set a goal for 10. So we are working on some recruitment strategies with employers so that we can meet our goal of 10. And just a couple of highlights from this first 3 quarters that I'd like to share with you. We've had our first pre-apprenticeship through Urban Independent School District, collision repair. And so those individuals are then going on to a paid apprenticeship with AAG, which is an automotive group, and they do training, and then they place them with different types of dealerships or automotive repair places. And we've also started co-enrolling our PROUD individuals. And PROUD is our Partners for Reentry Opportunities and Workforce Development grant that we received last year. So these are individuals that are staying at the Residential Reentry Center, which is a federal correctional institution. And so these individuals have been co-enrolled in our adult education and literacy program. And so they count for us not only in the PROUD measures, but then also in the AEL measures. And we're the only workforce board that's in this collaborative that are co-enrolling with AEL. So that's just a couple of highlights. And anybody have any questions?
But I just wanted to start with the first thing you said, which sort of resonated with me. You're saying that this report, this dashboard was created by a 21-year-old intern.
Yes, and can I just shout out to Dallas ISD? She is a graduate from Townview Science and Engineering. Shout out to Dallas ISD.
So let me just put a bow on this. Like, this tells you where you're standing today.
Yes.
Okay, that's all I'm saying.
Measurable skills game. So thank you so much for giving me the opportunity to share all the great work we're doing in the AEF program.
Good job. Thank you very much. All right, committee reports. We have a very good executive committee. Yeah, we covered what we did on the executive committee meeting. Thank you for the leaders that attended that. We had a real estate matter, which we've already discussed. So we'll move past that. Executive search, anything else there? Dupree, I think we've discussed that. Rebecca.
Well, I'll be quick, our next upcoming meeting is in June, our last one was in March, we discussed collecting some success stories and connecting them to news stories. Thank you, we've got some of them here, saw the growth in newsletters, social media, presence for workforce solutions, and plan to continue to make that going forward. We discussed customer feedback, getting implemented at the centers, thank you. And next is to get employer success stories, is similar to client impact stories, is to look at employers who have used their core services and start to share those stories.
Wow, thank you for telling our story, Rebecca. That's wonderful. All right, Eric.
So, we did have a childcare advisory committee meeting, council meeting, and again, went into the weeds about how the system is working, the TX3 system. But I think the biggest, report to the board is at our last meeting when we talked about how the system was not working. The thing we were most concerned about was that would be penalized if we did not hit our metrics. And we did have a call with TWC, and they assured us that that won't happen, that we will not be penalized if we don't hit the metrics because of issues that they're dealing with. So, but I will just say again, childcare group's doing a terrific job on trying to keep up with this, and Demetria, all of them on a daily basis with every new release that's sent out by TWC on what fixes are happening. And I think we're doing a good job of communicating to the provider community that we're working on it. Things are moving forward. So that's all I have to say.
Thanks for keeping an eye on the ball with childcare. All right, if there's no other discussion,
Out there, so you can slam on it. I like the man harder for the efficiency of the board, even the state really changed a lot over the last year. Can't they get that going? And then secondly, I had a chance to review the annual report that was done, that we handed out the last building. That was superb. So I think I commend the staff for
thank you all. Oh yeah, thank you all for your commitment to this board. It's critical. And we are moving the needle. So thank you. Just a reminder here, Omni Hotel next month, right down the street. Got a wonderful host.
We will, yeah.
So see y'all next.
crispy bacon.